Hey guys, and welcome into Fantasy Football Academy 2020 here on YouTube. Yes, we are exclusively YouTube. I'm here with my buddy Daniel. D-Money, what's happening, brother?
Hey, what's going on?
Not much, man. Hey, look, why don't you tell the people real quick why you are my first guest here on Fantasy Football Academy 2020?
Well, main reason I came in last place in our fantasy league last year, and I need help, lots of help.
Hey, that's what we're here for, brother. That's what we're here for. Look, it doesn't matter how long you've been playing. It doesn't matter what level you're at. You can always use some more assistance. Am I right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So, look, we're gonna dive in a little bit. We're gonna take a quick second. We're gonna say thank you to Zia of Lafayette, Zia Rotisserie Bar. Look, we're all quarantined right now, and restaurants are being hit hard right now, guys. Those people in the restaurant industry, they work hard. They've been trying to scrape by with this quarantine stuff, and COVID-19 is hitting them in the pocketbook where it hurts. And look, we're going to need to do our best to go out there. If you're in the Lafayette area, please give them a call. It's Zia, a rotisserie bar. They're on Doucette Road. You can reach them at 409-0013. They do DoorDash. They do Waiter. You can call them up, get deliveries. They have wonderful family bundles that you can get for the family when you're tired of cooking. And I mean, come on, let's admit it. We're all toward the end of being able to take what we can cook ourselves at home. We're ready for somebody else to take over. Am I right, D?
Oh, yeah.
Look, get out there, Zia of Lafayette. We'd like to thank them for being a sponsor of the show. So, D, here we go. First of all, fantasy football draft. We need to start out right there. That's the beginning of everything. Okay, that's where you start your season. So, how you get off there, where you get off at your starting point, it needs to be a good start. Okay, you can shoot yourself in the foot. You really can't win your draft you really can't win your season at the draft, but you can definitely lose it. Okay, and from experience, what'd you do? Tell the people what you did the very first round.
I drafted Drew Brees.
Man, look, I love Drew. I see you repping the Saints, man, and I love it. I love you repping your boys, Alvin Kamara. Hey, look, he is a number one draft pick. Okay, now I know the way that the draft fell, he was already taken by the time I got around to you, and you kind of felt like you needed to get somebody, but Drew wasn't the guy to get, was he?
No, got hurt. Second week of the season.
Not in the first round. So you need to kind of back off the quarterbacks a little bit, my man. So Here we go. Now, Daniel's got 10 questions, and I want everybody to listen up. Take out your pen pad, get your pencils out, get them sharpened, and take some notes because we're going to answer some questions. These are the 10 questions that Daniel has that you might be able to take into consideration when you're doing your fantasy football draft this year. So, D, go ahead, fire away, man. What's question number one?
What league is good for me?
That's an excellent question, D, and I'm glad you asked that first off the bat. Here's the thing. How competitive do you want to be? That's the number one question you need to ask yourself because this is all about fun. That's what fantasy football is. Fantasy football is all about fun. How much fun do you want to have in this? You want to have a lot of fun. So, if you've got guys who either you work with them, you hang out with them, you buddies, whatever, guys, girls, doesn't matter. What you need to do is find yourself a league that is the competitive level that you're comfortable with. Okay, some of these guys, some of them can take it to a whole nother level, and then some of them they just kind of back off about halfway through the season. Now, if you're really into it, I suggest that you do a draft with people that you know, people that you're in contact with, in the physical realm. Okay, you can do it over the internet. If you've got buddies of yours that you have on Facebook, that you have, they follow your Instagram account, you follow them, they follow you, this, that, the other. Family members maybe spread across the country. You can all get together on the fantasy football platform and pick a league and be in it. Okay. Now, what's also going to be coming into question is the size of your league. Okay, you can go from, I've gone as little as 8, and I've seen as many as 16. Okay, that 16 is a lot of people to have. Okay, and the problem that comes in with 16 people, the talent pool gets really, really shallow. Now, what do I mean by talent pool? That means that there's only so many players out there. And the more people you have, the more players are going to be gone by the time it gets to your choice. So you want to, something comfortable makes it competitive. Me personally, and you know from playing with me, it's 10. 10 is a really good number. Did 10 work for you?
Yeah, it did.
You found 10 to be, good and competitive enough?
Because I was able to get, some players I wanted and make trades. So it worked out. It worked out well. It was a good number.
Now, here's the other thing that you got to think about for the league when you're looking at it is what kind of scoring do they have? Do they have a PPR or standard? Now, for those out there, the last video that I posted previously to this one, it kind of went through and explained some lingo. Please go back, subscribe down bottom. Look right either side screen. Look down YouTube and subscribe to this channel, and you'll be able to see the videos that I posted before. And it's going to go over some of the lingo. But for those of you who didn't see, PPR is points per reception. That puts a special emphasis on wide receivers. Okay, so wide receivers are going to have a little more value, and pass catching running backs are going to have a little more value. Guys like Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, your boy, is going to have a little more. There you go. He's going to have a little more emphasis on those particular players when you're drafting them. So if it's PPR scoring, guys who have a high volume of catches, who have a high volume of targets, those are going to be guys you're going to want to look at that are going to be a little more valuable in a PPR as opposed to standard scoring league. Okay, standard scoring league is pretty much self-explanatory, and a lot of it's going to depend on what league you get in. Some leagues, they customize their scoring, and that's going to have something to do with whoever the commissioner is. So check it out. Make sure that you're paying attention to what kind of scoring your league has. Also, please, 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 please don't get in a league that has a Week 17 championship. We had ours Week 16. D, what happens if you get to Week 17 championship and the team that your quarterback's on has already locked up a playoff position?
They're not going to play.
Exactly. Then you left in a championship round. You fought. You battled. You did the trades. You worked the waiver wire. You did everything right. And Week 17, because these guys don't play fantasy football like we do, they play real football. They're sitting the bench because they're playing for the real playoffs, not our playoffs. So think about it. Please don't get in that Week 17 championship, guys. Pay attention. Okay, so question number 2, what you got?
Oh, what position should I draft first?
Okay, now this is going to depend on where you're at in the draft. Let's just say, for sake of argument, for this particular episode, we're going to go with the premise that we are doing a 10-team league, okay? So what we do is we do a 10-team snake draft. That means that you have number 1 through number 10, and when you get to number 10 not only gets the last pick of the first round, they also get the first pick of the second round, okay? Majority of your running backs, your top tier running backs, are going to be gone picks 1 through 6. And you saw this happen, D, in our draft. The first, 5 guys that were off the board were all running backs, okay? Now, in Michael Fabiano's 5-round mock draft that he put out, he's got Michael Thomas going at pick number 5, okay? Now, you'll have to tune into the episode to see my take on this, but I'm telling you right now, it needs to be different, okay? So, if you are pick 1 through 5, I would suggest that you take a top-tier running back because they're few and far between, is what we call a workhorse running back. Guys who get the majority of the of the takes, the majority of the carries, they get the ball a lot. Okay. D, you know the term running back by committee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Please explain to the people what running back by committee means.
That's if I'm correct, that's more like running back. They do it all, like catch.
No,
Can do a little
running
bit of
back
everything.
by committee. When running back by committees, when you have multiple running backs, say you got 2 or 3 guys, like with the Broncos, you had your boy Philip Lindsay the other year.
Mm-hmm.
Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman, 2 running backs, same team, same backfield, that can do the same thing.
Same thing. Mm-hmm.
This year, we had the same thing. We had Austin Eckler and we had Melvin Gordon. Both the Chargers, running back by committee. Now, both of those players actually paid off really well. I should know I had them.
Mm-hmm.
Did pretty good. But
Mm-hmm.
majority of the time, when you have running back by committee is not going to pan out for you in fantasy ball. It's going to be the workhorse quarterback, the Saquon Barkley, the Christian McCaffrey, the Zeke Elliott. And I can't believe I just threw out a Cowboy name. I know. But my boy Chris, you know who you are. A shout out for you. Okay, Chris Cook, diehard Dallas fan and subscriber to my channel. So appreciate the support, my brother, even though it comes from a Dallas fan. So we'll forgive you on that one because apparently you have somewhat good taste. You listening to me. But anyway, but yeah, guys like that you want to get early. Okay, and you're only going to be able to get them in the first half of the first round. Okay, if you have to look at what's your strategy going in. Do you want to go running back, wide receiver? Is that how you want to go? Do you want to go running back, wide receiver, running back, wide receiver? There's so many multiple ways that you can go with this, and it kind of boils down to really how much fun do you want to have with this? I mean, do you want to go in and try to throw a monkey wrench in everybody's plan? You pick Michael Thomas number 1 overall. You pick DeAndre Hopkins number 2 pick. I mean, that's going to throw some people off. I'm telling you right now. Okay, it's not a bad pick. Okay, it might throw you off a little bit. You won't have a top tier running back, but you will have the best wide receiver in the game. Okay, so it kind of, like I said, depends on where you're at and what your strategy wants to be. Okay, so think about your strategy. Think about, how you want to take this and where you want to go with it. Me personally, if it's my pick, 1 through 5, I'm taking running backs. 6 through 10, I'm zoning in on on the top wide receivers in the game. And then you're going to be able to come back around before the guys who just got the top tier running backs, and you're going to be able to pick up another very elite running back. So you're going to be having one of the number 1 wide receivers and one of the few workhorse running backs that are left on the board, and these other guys are going to be taking the leftovers. Okay, so if you're later in the rounds, I like picking later in rounds. I like picking in like 6, 7. I like that. That's an ideal spot for me. I hate taking the first 3 picks. First 3 picks, you got to wait forever to come back, and you got to have a really good backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
So, number 3, what's question number 3, my man?
What happens when my number 1 pick, when I wanted the most, falls through? Somebody gets to him before I do.
Hey, look, and this is what we were just talking about. Anybody can throw a monkey wrench in your plan. You got to be able to think on the fly. You got to have your list out. What I do is I will take the quarterbacks that I'm looking for, and I'll write out a list. And I'll have the top 10 quarterbacks. I'll have the top 20 running backs. I'll have the top 20 wide receivers. And I'll go off of that. Okay? Now, you're going to have more players than that you're going to have to delve into. But for the first few rounds, it's pretty much going to be laid out for you. The first 5 rounds, you're pretty much, anybody can pick that. Where your draft is made is pick 6 through 12. Okay? 6 through 12 is what you're really, really going to look for. And that's what's going to make or break your season right there. Okay? Because those are the guys that when you get down to it, the guys who do their homework, the guys who pay attention, the guys who go and look at the stats and look at the projections and things like that, Those are where you're going to find your players are going to be your breakouts. They're going to be your sleepers. Now, for those of you who don't have no clue what I'm talking about, breakout player, and I explained this in the last episode, the breakout player is a player who has a high level of, or a steady level of performance that could, and I'm going to emphasize the word could here, could exceed expectations. Sleeper, somebody who they're in the right position as far as the team that they're with and the position that they play and who they're playing with to exceed expectations for that year. Okay. Typically, a breakout star this year, I would put my money on A.J. Brown with the Titans, the wide receiver. He's got his quarterback back. They have Derrick Henry back. So the two main cogs in that system that were working last year are back again. There's no major coaching changes. He didn't lose his head coach. He didn't lose his offensive coordinator. He didn't lose his quarterback. They still have a monster running game, and they are a run-first team. However, A.J. Brown is expected to be that breakout wide receiver. He's going to be that RB1 on that team, okay? So my suggestion, go in with a plan. Don't get your heart set on one in particular person and be flexible, okay? So question number 4.
How do I know who to start in what week, in each week?
Hey, look, week by week, you're going to rely on talent, but you're going to play the matchup, okay? So you got guys who are really talented, guys who you know are going to deliver, like you have Michael Thomas. You know he's going to get the ball. You have guys like Christian McCaffrey. You know he's going to be there. Things like that, you're going to play these guys regardless of who they're playing. Now, lesser guys who maybe aren't in such a good position, you're going to look at who they're playing. It's going to be hard. You're going to be faced with a chance where you have a star player, a guy who you've been leaning on, and you're going to have to pull him out, and you're going to have to bench him because he has a really bad matchup, okay? You got to be willing to do that. You got to be willing to go out there on a limb and say, look, he's playing phenomenal defense. He's just coming off an injury. He might not be back at 100%. So do you want to plug this guy back in and risk him leaving the game early and leaving you 3/4 shy of a full performance? Or do you want to plug somebody else in who's playing a better matchup, who will probably have a really good day and be more productive for you? That's what you have to ask yourself. So number 5, my man.
What should I do if my best player is on a bye?
Hey, look, there's a thing out there called a waiver wire, and these are all guys who have not been drafted or have been released by other teams, okay? So what you want to do is you want to look at that week's matchup. If you have what we call dead weight on your roster, guys who really haven't been performing the way you thought they would, then you're going to want to drop those guys and pick up somebody just for that week, hang on to them, see what they do, and maybe you found a star. Maybe you found somebody who, the other guys missed. I myself was able to get Kenyon Drake this past year. After he left Miami, the guy who had him dropped him. I picked him up after he got to Arizona, and he did phenomenal over the last few weeks of the season for me, okay? So you have guys out there like that every single year. And if you can't, then guess what? You're stuck with whoever your backup is, and you just got to, do the hope and pray thing. So, so how about number 6, my man?
When should I draft a quarterback?
Hey, look, like I said, your quarterbacks, pump the brakes on your quarterbacks, guys. There's only 2 quarterbacks this year that are worth taking above round 5, okay? That's Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Now, I know that there were 7 more quarterbacks that scored more points than Patrick Mahomes did last year, okay? And I'm telling you right now, Mahomes had a down year. Don't expect for that to happen this year, okay? Expect for him, and I know this sounds crazy coming off of a Super Bowl win, but it's crazy to say that Patrick Mahomes is going to have a bounce-back year. But statistically, he's going to bounce back to the top 2 or 3 QBs in the league, okay? Don't look for Lamar Jackson to repeat the performance that he had last year. That was a record-setting pace. It's not sustainable, okay? There's a thing called touchdown regression, and this is one of the things I go over in the last episode, is touchdown regression is when he's going to go under what he did last year. So he had, let's say he just, for sake of argument, he had like 11 touchdowns. He's not going to have 11 touchdowns. He might get 9. Now, that's still good, but it's not the 11. He might get 8. It's not the 11, okay? So we're not playing on last year. We're playing this year. You can use last year's number as a projection and as a way to see, kind of what they're going to do, but don't get comfortable with thinking that they're going to repeat what they did last year, okay?
And I was against it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're gonna get stuck sometimes in what we call a panic pick. Somebody's gonna take Lamar Jackson, somebody's gonna take Patrick Mahomes, and you're like, oh my gosh, I got to take Deshaun Watson now. No, you don't. Pump the brakes, back up. There's other guys out there that are gonna give you the same performance as somebody that you would have picked earlier. All right. Number 7.
When should I draft a defense?
Ooh, look. This is one of my pet peeves about newbies on fantasy football. They want to jump up and take defenses because they look at them and go, oh, they're going to give me all these points. The only person that I've ever seen get an extraordinary amount of points out of their defense was my wife's team, because she had New England Patriots. Yes, my wife won our championship her first year ever playing, but she listened to me. So if that doesn't tell you something of why you should be listening to this channel, I don't know what does. So you're not going to get 30 points out of your defense. You're going to get 12 to 15 if you're lucky, okay? Defenses are even keel, okay? You can drop them, pick them up. You can do what we call streaming a defense based upon who they're playing. Pick up a defense if they're playing a really bad quarterback, like, I don't know if James Winston signs with anybody. Okay. The man threw 30 interceptions last year. Yeah, he threw for 5,000 yards, but he still threw 30 interceptions. He's going to get at your defense points, okay? I'm telling you right now, anybody who plays Tom Brady, pick him up, okay? Tom Brady's number one thing. If you pressure him, he will fold. The man's 43 years old. He's basically back there in a wheelchair right now, okay? I mean, come on, guys. Let's go, okay? He's going to get hit. He's going to need forever to throw the ball, okay? And unless they do something in the draft, Tampa Bay's offensive line is not going to hold forever, okay? So something to think about. But please, last 3 rounds, in answer to your question, the last 3 rounds, because you're going to have 16 in the draft. You have 16 rounds. Last 3 is when you target your defense. Okay, so number 8.
How many players can you have on a fantasy team?
As I just said, you're gonna have 16 rounds, so you have 16 players. Okay, you're gonna have nine starters. You're gonna have a quarterback, running back, 2 wide receivers. You're going to have what we call a flex position, a tight end, a kicker, and a defense. Now, when I say defense, your defense is going to be the entire team. It's going to be special teams and defense. So interceptions, running backs for touchdowns, things like that, you're going to get points for. Okay, they're going to count for your team. So 16. All right, so go ahead. Number 9.
How many players can you draft in each position? Like, is there a limit or?
Some leagues do limit you. I know I myself, I put a 2 quarterback limit on how many quarterbacks you can draft because there's only 32 guys out there, and there's only about 10 of them that are any good. So you want to try to limit it to how many guys you can get. I know I do with quarterbacks. Aside from that, we really don't have any limits. If you want to draft 2 running backs in every other spot on your roster, aside from your kicker and your defense, want to be wide receivers, go for it. But whenever your running backs have a bye week, then you're going to be SOL for a running back. You're going to have to go to the waiver wire for it. So, all right, number 10, wrapping it up, my man. What's your last question for the draft?
What should I look for in considering a trade?
Hey, look, this is really tricky. Okay, some guys don't like doing trades in fantasy football, and they're going to be few and far between a lot of times because it's really hard when you start looking at a trade because you're going to look at a guy and you're going to be like, man, I really want him. I know I could probably get him, but who do I want to give up? And then you start wrestling within yourself. Man, if I give him up and he does really well, and then I got to play this guy in the playoffs, and the guy that I traded him for beats me, I'm gonna be feeling like a fool because I pulled the trigger on that trade. Look at what you're getting. Okay, look at what you're getting. Look at what you're giving up. Consider the remainder of the season. Okay, so let's say that it's week 4, and you look down the road and the guy that you're trying to give up has a really hard schedule ahead of him. The guy you're trying to get has a really soft schedule. Okay? You're not going to want to tell the guy that you're trading that fact if he hasn't realized it already. Okay? Try to talk. Here's the thing. You want to try to talk up your player as much as you can. Okay, you start talking, man. Hey, look, he did this and that and this and that against this team, and he's got to face them 2 more times in the year or whatever. So, they feel a little better about letting go of somebody they might not have wanted to let go of. Okay, so like I said, look at what you're giving up and look at what you're getting. If you're trying to give up somebody who's garbage, don't expect them to bite on that. And if you're trying to get somebody who's worth anything, try to give them 2 players. Try to get rid of some dead weight. If they'll take 2 guys that aren't doing anything on your team, then great, awesome. You can unload some dead weight, get an extra roster spot open, and get a better guy. So, D, did that help you out any?
Oh, it helped me out a lot.
Good. Hey, look. Don't be using my advice too much against me in the draft this year, okay? All right, look, D. Hey, look, we're gonna get ready to wrap up this episode. We're gonna have you back. We're gonna talk about the 8. And normally there are 7 deadly sins. I came up with 8 rules that you cannot break during your fantasy draft. And I'm gonna have D back the next episode that we do, and we're going to talk about the 8 things you don't do in the draft. And just a little spoiler alert, look, drinking and drafting is real, people, and friends will let friends draft drunk. Okay? This ain't driving, ain't nobody getting in a wreck, so they will let you do it, and it's not a good thing. Don't be that guy. So look, D-Money, I appreciate your time, my man.
No problem.
Hey, everybody listening out there.
Thank you for having me.
Look, everybody listening out there, look, we're all in this quarantine thing together. We're going to get through it together. I would like to send a special shout out to the SGN network. That's the Some Good News Network. Now, my wife is a big Office fan, so I just find it funny that the gentleman who hosts that show, he plays Jack Ryan. His real name is John, and his name on the show, The Office, is Jim. Just an observation. But look, we loved you on TikTok. My wife watched you. I'm sending out a hashtag and for you. So I hope you pick up that this was some good news, right, D?
Oh yeah.
All right. So look. SGN, thank you for your time. Thank you for your service to the quarantine people out there, and hopefully we'll be able to reach some as well. So I'm hoping that this channel will offer you some solace, some sanctuary in the crazy beating the boredom, and we're going to use it as a hashtag, beat the boredom. Okay, if it ain't picked up, it will. Send it out there, and we look forward to you coming in and tuning in the next episode on Fantasy Football Academy 2020. If you have comments, please put them below. If you feel better email me to fantasyfootballacademy2020 @gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have. D, see you next time. Appreciate you.
All right.
Take it easy.
All right.